If you're collecting supplemental security income, October brings something unusual that doesn't happen every month, and understanding why could put more money in your account this month. SSI recipients are scheduled to receive 2 full payments in October 2025, one on October 1st and another on October 31st. Now, before you think this is some kind of bonus or government windfall, let me explain exactly what's happening here, because the details matter for your financial planning. The October 31st payment isn't actually extra money. It's technically your November payment arriving early. This happens because November 1st falls on a weekend this year, and the Social Security Administration always delivers payments on the last business day before a weekend or holiday disrupts the normal schedule. What this means for you is important. You'll receive 2 payments in October, but then you won't see another SSI payment until December. This creates a gap you need to plan for. Many folks miss this detail and wonder where their November check went. Understanding this payment calendar quirk helps you budget properly and avoid any financial surprises during the holiday season. So let's dive deeper into what's really going on with your Social Security payments this month, because there's a lot more to this story than just seeing 2 deposits hit your account. The Social Security Administration operates on a very specific payment schedule that's been in place for years, and while it's designed to be consistent and reliable, these calendar quirks pop up several times throughout the year. Understanding how this system works isn't just about tracking when money arrives. It's about taking control of your financial life and making sure you're never caught off guard by the way these payments flow. Here's the thing that confuses a lot of people. The Social Security Administration actually runs 2 completely different payment systems under the same roof. You've got the traditional Social Security retirement benefits, which most people are familiar with, and then you've got Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, which operates on its own separate calendar. If you're receiving regular Social Security retirement or disability benefits, your payment schedule works differently than what we're talking about today. Those payments go out based on your birth date. If you were born between the 1st and 10th of the month, you get paid on the 2nd Wednesday. Born between the 11th and 20th, that's the 3rd Wednesday. And if your birthday falls between the 21st and the end of the month, you're looking at the 4th Wednesday. But SSI recipients follow a completely different rhythm, and that's where this October situation comes into play. SSI payments always go out on the 1st day of the month, period. That's the rule. Except when the 1st day lands on a weekend or federal holiday, the payment gets moved up to the last business day before that weekend or holiday. This isn't the Social Security Administration trying to be generous or giving you extra money. It's simply their way of making sure you're not left waiting over a weekend when banks are closed and you can't access your funds. Think about it from a practical standpoint. If November 1st falls on a Saturday this year, and they waited until Monday the 3rd to send your payment, that would leave millions of Americans without access to their benefits over a weekend. For folks who depend on these payments for rent, utilities, groceries, and medications, that delay could create real hardship. So the SSA moves the payment up, which means it arrives in the previous month. Now, this creates what looks like a windfall in October, but here's where you need to pay close attention to your budget. When you receive that 2nd payment on October 31st, you're essentially getting your November money early. This means November itself will be a month without an SSI payment. 0 deposits. Nothing coming in from that particular benefit stream. December 1st will be your next scheduled payment, assuming it doesn't fall on a weekend. This gap is where a lot of people get into trouble, especially if they're not expecting it or don't understand why it's happening. You might look at your bank account in early November and think something went wrong, that there was a mistake, or that your benefits got cut off. None of that is true. It's just the calendar doing what the calendar does. Let me walk you through how to handle this practically, because knowledge without action doesn't help anybody. When that October 31st payment hits your account, you need to treat it differently than your regular monthly payment. This isn't spending money for late October and early November. This needs to stretch through the entire month of November. That's roughly 30 days instead of your usual payment cycle. If you typically budget week by week or even day by day with your SSI payment, this is the time to sit down and actually map out your expenses for the entire month ahead. Write down your fixed costs: rent or mortgage, utilities, phone bill, internet, insurance premiums, any regular medications or medical expenses. Then look at your variable expenses: food, transportation, personal care items, anything that fluctuates month to month. The smart move is to physically or digitally separate that October 31st payment from your regular spending money. Some people find it helpful to transfer it to a different account entirely, even if it's just a basic savings account at the same bank. Others keep it in their checking account, but track it separately in a notebook or budgeting app. The method doesn't matter as much as the discipline. You're essentially giving yourself permission to only spend 1/30th of that payment per day through November, rather than burning through it in the first 2 weeks because it feels like extra money in your account. It's not extra, it's advance payment, and that distinction matters enormously when it comes to keeping your finances stable. This same pattern repeats itself at other times during the year, and knowing when these double payment months occur helps you plan ahead for the entire year. It's not random or unpredictable. You can literally look at a calendar right now and figure out every month when this will happen in the coming year. Anytime the first of the month falls on a Saturday, Sunday, or federal holiday, you'll see this pattern. The payment gets moved to the last business day of the previous month, creating that double payment effect followed by a skip month. Some years you might see this happen 3 or 4 times. Other years, it might only be once or twice. The frequency depends entirely on how the calendar falls and where the federal holidays land. What really matters here is understanding your total annual benefit amount, because that never changes regardless of how the payments are timed throughout the year. If your approved SSI benefit is, let's say, $12,000 annually, you're going to receive exactly that amount whether it comes in 12 separate payments, 11 payments with 1 double month, or 10 payments with 2 double months. The Social Security Administration isn't giving you more money or taking money away. They're just adjusting the timing to accommodate weekends and holidays. Your annual total remains constant. This is important to remember because sometimes people worry that getting 2 payments in 1 month means they'll somehow receive less over the course of the year. That's not how it works. You're entitled to your full benefit amount, and you'll receive every penny of it, just distributed differently across the calendar. Now let's talk about what happens if you receive both SSI and regular Social Security benefits, because plenty of people fall into this category. You might be getting a small retirement benefit based on your work history, and because that amount is low, you also qualify for SSI to bring your total income up to a livable level. If that's your situation, you need to track both payment schedules separately because they don't sync up. Your regular Social Security benefit follows that birth date schedule I mentioned earlier, coming on the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th Wednesday of the month. Your SSI payment follows the first of the month rule with those weekend and holiday adjustments. This means you could potentially see 3 deposits in October: your regular Social Security payment on your designated Wednesday, your SSI payment on October 1st, and then your advanced November SSI payment on October 31st. That might feel like a lot of money coming in at once, but remember, you won't see another SSI payment until December. Let's also address what happens if you're new to SSI, or if you've recently had changes to your benefit amount. Sometimes the Social Security Administration needs to make adjustments, either because your financial situation changed, because they discovered an error, or because annual cost of living adjustments went into effect. These changes usually show up in your payment amount, but the timing rules stay the same. Even if your benefit increases or decreases, that October 31st payment still represents your November payment arriving early. The amount might be different than what you received on October 1st, but the principle remains identical. You're still looking at a gap in November that you need to plan for, regardless of whether your benefit went up or down. One thing that catches people off guard is how this interacts with other assistance programs. If you receive SNAP benefits, formerly known as food stamps, or if you get help with housing costs through Section 8 or other programs, those benefits often have their own calculation methods and payment schedules. Some programs look at your monthly income, and having 2 SSI payments hit your account in the same month might look like your income doubled, even though it didn't actually increase at all. Most programs that serve SSI recipients understand this calendar quirk and account for it in their calculations, but it's worth reaching out to those agencies to confirm how they handle these double payment months. The last thing you want is to have your SNAP benefits reduced or your housing assistance questioned because someone misunderstood your income situation. There's also a psychological element to managing these payment patterns that doesn't get talked about enough. When you see a larger than usual balance in your bank account, it triggers a feeling of having more resources available, even when intellectually you know that money needs to last longer. Behavioral economists call this the mental accounting trap. We tend to treat money differently based on how and when it arrives, rather than looking at the total amount we have available over a longer period. Recognizing this tendency in yourself is half the battle. When you see 2 deposits in October, your brain might start suggesting that you can afford things you normally couldn't, or that you can relax your usual budget discipline. Resisting that impulse and sticking to your plan is what separates people who navigate these months successfully from those who end up struggling in November. Planning ahead also means thinking about the timing of your major expenses. If you have a bill that's due in early November, maybe your car insurance comes due, or you need to make a payment on a medical bill, October is the month to set that money aside from the 31st payment. Don't wait until November 1st to figure out how you're going to cover those expenses. By then, the money might already be spent on other things, and you'll find yourself scrambling. Use the knowledge you have right now, today, to make decisions about that payment before it even arrives. Decide in advance exactly what portion of it goes to November rent, what portion covers November utilities, what goes to groceries, and what handles any other essential expenses. This is your financial life, and you have more control over it than you might think. The Social Security Administration isn't going to send you a reminder that November is a skip month. They won't call you up and suggest you budget carefully with that October 31st payment. They process millions of payments according to the rules, and it's up to each individual recipient to understand those rules and plan accordingly. That might seem like a lot to ask, but it's also empowering. Once you understand the pattern, you can plan for it year after year. You become the expert on your own financial situation, and that knowledge protects you from surprises and stress.